afternoon and welcome to Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank, Malaysia. Today we will analyst Asia Pacific at Oanda as our guest. Good afternoon, Jeff. Great to have you on the show.
Always a pleasure, Brian. Hello, everybody.
Now, before we get your insights, I'm going to first go through what crypto markets look like, and then we're going to go through regional stock markets. Now, Bitcoin is at 31,170.7. It's down 7.36%. Ethereum is at 2,335.84. It's down 5.11%. If we look across to regional stock markets, we're going to start with the SGX. The Straits Times Index is at 3,231.9. It's down 1.32%. Now, closer to me on the KLSE, it's at 1,550.26. It's up 0.07%. Shanghai is at 3,016.72. It's up 0.42%. The ASX All Ordinaries is at 7,270.7. It's down 1.19%. The Nikkei is at 26,130. It's down 0.72%. The Hang Seng continues to fall. It's at 19,494. It's down 2.54%. And rounding up the numbers, we've got the Kospi, which is at 2,590.91. It's down 0.77%. Now, Jeff, it's a bloodbath out there. Tell us why.
Yeah, look, we had another bad night in Wall Street overnight, and we saw the Nasdaq give up another 4%. Palantir's fell by 21% overnight. That continues a trend of these stock market technology darlings getting absolutely crushed at the first sign of trouble in their earnings, and that trend is certainly continuing. Markets are squeezed between fears over now a recession, rising Fed interest rates, obviously the war in Eastern Europe, and of course this China slowdown, hiking material prices, cost of living increases, etc. This whole stagflationary environment. And I think even the most ardent optimists are struggling to maintain a potentially bullish case. And it's going to become an even more challenging environment for stock markets going forward. But we're also seeing that stress in the bond markets, and particularly, as you mentioned, Bitcoin, which we could talk about shortly as well.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Bitcoin because I remember about 2 weeks ago, from a technical standpoint, you said the resistance level was at the 30,000 mark. What's your view on Bitcoin now today?
Yeah, I'm looking like a genius at the moment. I guess even I get it right. So just to recap, I said that there was a lot of noise in Bitcoin, but until it broke the triangle support at 37,400, I wasn't going to pay too much attention to it. A break of that would have suggested that Bitcoin was going to fall to 32,000, which it's duly done. And thereafter that, it potentially could move as low as 17,000 if that 32,000 went. So we saw a capitulation trade in Bitcoin overnight. And I think this is a function of margin calls potentially going on in positionings that they hold in other asset classes, such as stocks and potentially bonds. Look, Bitcoin's bounced 3% today. In the context of the losses overnight, it's still a minor correction. It does seem to be leading Asia markets towards a slight recovery, but I'm not quite sure if it's the tail wagging the dog or the dog wagging the tail at this stage. I think the break of 32 is significant, and if we hold under that for the next day or two, then that potential move down towards that 17 to 20,000 mark, which is the triangle target actually for the technical formation, I think that could be on.
So 17 to 20, so it's quite a ways to go from now.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so much noise in this space. I prefer just to step back and watch the technical picture, and at this stage it's working quite well. I am obviously a bit of a crypto skeptic, but I try to maintain my neutrality by just watching the technical picture, which is looking quite grim at the moment.
Okay, and also I just read a report a couple of minutes ago that 40% at the current prices, 40% of Bitcoin, people who hold Bitcoin are actually underwater at the moment. So that's something for us to ponder upon.
Yeah, I think it depends whether those are leveraged positions or whether they're the hodlers, the hold on for dear lifers. So when you look at the actual amount of Bitcoin in circulation, I was reading somewhere that somewhere like 80% of it doesn't actively trade. It's long-term holders who are sitting there with it in their wallets, and it's this 20% that's rushing around. But if those positions are leveraged, or they have leveraged positions in other asset classes that they have to reduce, that could increase the pressure. But if you're just holding Bitcoin, I guess you're having a few sleepless nights, but you're in no need to immediately sell it out. It's whether it reaches your risk management pain points, and then you say goodbye.
Now, Jeff, what are some other key highlights that you've brought up on your market commentary today?
I actually spent quite a bit of time with Bitcoin today for a change. I've noted also that we're starting to see interest rate pressures increasing around Asia. So we're seeing these price pressures increasing by higher inflation, for example, yesterday in Indonesia. And we're starting to see some serious weakness in some of these Asian currencies. The Reserve Bank of India was intervening to cap dollar Indian rupee overnight. I think that Bank of Indonesia has been around on top at 14,500 for a while. Similarly with the Philippine Central Bank. We're starting to see these pressures come through, and I think I've mentioned it in the past. The unpalatable choice for many Asian countries going forward will be whether they need to raise interest rates in sympathy with the US to defend their currencies, or risk those imported inflation pressures ratcheting up. And I think we're approaching that end game now.
And we have people like Bank Negara as well coming up later this week, correct? What are you expecting from them?
Well, I don't think they're going to hike rates. I think, like many Asian countries, they'd rather keep the lights on in the economy than hike the economies into a slowdown, because Asia is behind many other parts of the world in its COVID-19 recovery. Now, the ringgit has been under a lot of serious pressure lately, and I think it's become a proxy like the Australian and New Zealand dollars for risk sentiment, and particularly the China slowdown. The choice the Bank Negara already has is, do they watch dollar ringgit go up above 445, potentially 450, or do they start hiking now to try and take the edge off that? Because I'm really quite surprised that they've not received this resource backstop that Indonesia has over the last few months. Indonesia's done reasonably okay in the last few months because it's such a big exporter, but we've seen no sign of that with Malaysia.
Now, Jeff, as always, thank you very much for your insights and for coming on the show.
And a pleasure.
Now, we've been speaking to Jeffrey Halley, Senior Market Analyst, Asia Pacific at Oanda, on Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch, powered by Rajhi Bank, Malaysia. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as Rajhi Bank's social media platforms. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.